HW here. I love little vintage combos. They always have so much character, so many cool tones, and just the feel is really awesome. That low wattage tube feel, and they usually sit really well in a more dense mix because oftentimes, being a 112 or 110 or even a 1.8 sometimes, they usually don't produce enough bass to become overly flubby or really, really overly dark, even if they're very warm and they get very saturated. Two of my favorite amps, check these out. It's a 1960s early, I'm not sure exactly what year, Gibson Skylark. Very cool amp, very cool. Rhett Shell has made some videos about these. It's kind of like Gibson's version of a Champ, but it has some sort of little more rare or less common tube types in there that they sort of substituted in. Later they changed it to a more standard 12AX7 and 6V6 and stuff like that. But for this one, it's got the weird tubes. And mine has a non-original speaker. I actually think that makes it a little more usable. Then I've got a 58 Ampeg Rocket. This is also a very cool amp. Kind of like a Tweed Deluxe, but kind of not. Kind of its own thing. So these two amps are really cool. I want to show you how just switching around some cabs and different gain levels really can get you some usable tones. Check it out. Here is Skylark 3. This one's free on ToneNet. You should download it for free. It's a free model up on ToneNet. Check it out. So you can really hear that low end. It fits really nicely with a bass player beneath it. You don't really need to cut low end. By itself, it can feel like, hey, I want a little more fullness. And so a lot of times I like using this amp with a Strat on the neck pickup or even just any neck pickup. You heard me go to the neck there. And it's a really cool sound. It's warm without being at all bassy or too warm. Turn up the gain a little more and you get some serious rockiness. Now, all the effects you're hearing are courtesy of the Line 6 Helix native plug-in. Just a little light spring, hall reverb, and like a Deluxe Memory Man set lovely, just where I like it. So one cool thing, and I'm going to make a separate video on this, about the ToneX, the Kemper does this too, is you have the opportunity to switch cabinets up. And that is actually a feature that you really should explore because you can find some really incredible pairings. Now, both of these amplifiers have a hardwire speaker into the chassis, so I was not able to get direct captures and mix them with IRs. So these are what you would call studio style captures, where or tone models, where basically I'm getting the tone model from the amp and speaker together. I'm not able to separate them, but you can still switch up the cabinets in the ToneX by finding other cabinets. So here's a 412 cabinet that I made on a different tone model that I've identified as being a really great sounding one to mix with other tone models. And so here's a 412. It's actually it's actually a modeled cabinet of the Marshall 412. So it's like kind of like an IR that is of the Marshall 412 from a different tone model preset. And I've applied it to this, the 4TS tone model. So that means there's a tube screamer on, and I've switched up the cabinet. And you get something very different than you would expect to get in the real world, where now we're running this little Champ type circuit through a 412 with a tube screamer. We very much changed the voice of it. Very cool. A lot more rockin', and you lose a little bit of that. You still have a rolled off low end because the amp's not producing it, but now you get a little more heft from the cabinet. Obviously, we're rolling off low end too in the Tube Screamer. But here is where some magic sets in too in the digital realm. If you do this same thing with a cabinet section from a Deluxe Reverb, some of the free Deluxe Reverb tone models I put out, now you get the Skylark using a cabinet that's a little more open, a little more kind of finely tuned and mic'd with that speaker for a nice, beautiful, Fendery clean tone. And you really do get that while still maintaining the feel of a little bit of a lower wattage amplifier, the Skylark. Very cool. Now let's switch it up completely. Let's completely switch it up. The 58 Ampeg Rocket. All these amps have so much character. You kind of heard the character of the Skylark. Now check out the character of this Ampeg Rocket. Why is it cool? Why is it special? Because it can sound like an explodey, big, warm, saturated, almost fuzz-like deluxe, tweed deluxe thing, but a little more fuzz-like. So that was using the microphone input, and it's a little warmer, a little more grumbly and rumbly, but I love how it does that without getting too much low end. But if you do want to put it through a bigger cabinet, here's the same thing, cab swapped, but for a big Marshall 412. And the same trick again, but now with the Deluxe Reverb cabinet, same one we used before. So in the pack, you have all these different presets. There's several free ones up there on ToneNet right now. And if you have the emails, you probably got what's on ToneNet plus a few others. Please go like those on ToneNet. This is the Deluxe Reverb speaker. And then I'll show you, I'll just let the Suze play through a couple of these so you can kind of hear some of the cool tones from the pack. I'm an HW. Enjoy. Get the free ones. And if you're not signed up for the email, what are you doing? What are you doing? Still making a bad choice. Because the good choice would be get the cool free stuff that HW puts out. But you do you. You do you. No judgment. HW.